And I was telling you, Carl, and a lot of people don't know this. So when I was still in academia back in 2016, Trump comes down the escalator, well, 2015 technically, comes down the escalator and starts giving a speech centering around border security, economic security, cultural security. And Brexit is ringing in my ears when I'm hearing that. He actually said, "Call me Mr. Brexit," at one point, ironically in Scotland the night of Brexit. And then I heard our American conservative talk radio host not quite understanding him, to think, wait, he sounds like a Democrat half the time. He's all pro-labor union. What the heck is it? Or he's sounding like far right. He wants to shut the government down and deport all these Mexicans and blah blah blah. And he said, well, we're gonna say Merry Christmas again. He always has this very very specific kind of image in mind. We're gonna build. He never talks about border security. It's always build a wall, something in the mind. And I just was very disappointed in how the conservative commentators really deferred to the kind of globalist right, the ideological right. They were Ted Cruz was affirming that, or Marco Rubio, or even Rand Paul. And I said, is there anybody who kind of gets Trump? Do they understand this civilizationalism? And I come across your channel, Sargon of Akkad, and I just listened to the way you were analyzing culture and analyzing a kind of new right perspective. And I said, I want to do that without the commercial or the animation and so forth. Yeah. So you were very influential. I did not tell you this before. You were very influential on me getting into broadcasting. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you did.
Yeah.
Because there are a bunch of us in Britain who are big fans of the way that you do things. So obviously, your brand is very American, right?
Right. Very, yeah.
And to the British ear. It's very alien.
Mm-hmm.
We're not nearly as effervescent as you are, but there are a bunch of us who really agree with everything you're saying. Yeah. So, we're completely on the same side. It's just that you present it in such a totally different style. We kind of enjoy it on that sort of this isn't this kind of crazy American, but he's right about all of this stuff, and he's doing a great job presenting all this info, and he's doing a great job persuading people. But for us, it's just kind of a strange mirror image of us.
It is right. The British and American version, right. Yeah. We have to give it the little Hollywood bubble or something.
I've got a few friends who are just going to be thrilled that I did an interview.
Oh, this is tell them a bit. Well, I'm thrilled to do this. This in many ways this kind of comes full circle for me. So I really appreciate it. You gave a great talk. You gave an excellent talk. And it was fascinating in how you saw ideology communicated through the family, and your own research on how Marxists in particular saw the family as a mediator of ideology. You talked about something called ideological state apparatus, and it wasn't just the family, it was all kinds of mediating institutions, community, and church, and the like. How did Marxists exploit that? How did they tap into these institutions to mediate their own ideology?
So the Marxists have, since Marx, he originally wrote the German ideology in I think about 1850. 1860, something like that. But it wasn't discovered until long after his death, in about, I think it was 1920 or something like that, in the Soviet Union. It was first published in the Soviet Union. But he'd written it long before. And he is really the first person who takes the concept of ideology seriously. And so naturally this gets inherited by the Marxist tradition for the last 100+ years. And so they've spent a lot of time ruminating over what ideology is. Because most people, when they say ideology, they think it's just a kind of surface level political program, but actually it's a lot deeper than that. It really is a replacement for religion, and it really describes an entire worldview.
I think I came across the term. It's a French term, and it comes right after the French Revolution.
It comes from Anton de Tracy in the French Revolution, and what he thought he would be able to do is create a science of ideas. So ideology literally means a science of ideas. But it turns out that's not really how ideas work. Because he followed in the sort of Lockean Condillac school of just, well, all of the information we have about the world comes from the world, and therefore we must be able to categorize it and create a proper science out of it. But actually, man's capacity for reflection means that we can play with ideas, mold them, change them, interpret them, logically infer from them, and create new ideas out of things that otherwise didn't previously exist. Right. And so they call themselves the ideologues, or the ideologues, or how it's pronounced in French.
Right.
And Napoleon famously was one of them, until they became essentially a lot like modern liberals are now, just very ideological. Yeah. And he denounced them as armchair metaphysicians and windbags, and the term ideology became quite stigmatized until Karl Marx reinterpreted it, saying, well, look, actually Hegel is taking these ideas and saying, well, they're descending from heaven to earth. But actually, if you look at it, the ideas go the other way. We interpret ideas from the reality, and then we take them up to heaven as we interpret them. And there's some truth in this, right? But the thing is, it's not a one-way system, it's a two-way system. And Marxists spent about 100 years, until about 1980, I think it was, when Louis Althusser pointed out, actually this whole thing is a kind of self-feedback loop, where, we extract from reality a series of ideas, we interpret them through our own lenses and reason, and then we start applying these ideas back to reality, and they end up formatting reality into certain.
So there's an inhaling and an exhaling.
But it has a terraforming effect on the civilization. So the ideology informs the decisions that we make, whether we think about it or not, right? And so and most people don't think about it. Most people say, well, it's just right to do that. It's like, well, why is it right to do that? For example, in Western liberal democracies, we're infused with liberal ideology everywhere. Right. And so it's like, oh, well, we need to protect the rights of minorities. We need to protect the rights of this, the rights of that, the rights of the other. And this changes our civilization to reflect that. Whereas if you look at, say, an Islamic society or a Chinese society that is not infused with liberalism, no, that's not what they think.
Right.
They think something else. Well, how can we most be in alignment with the Quran?
Exactly. Right.
And so their civilization takes on a different character.
Yeah.
And so this feedback loop is like an engine that changes the world around us and provides more reasons to change the world around us.
Right.
It's a self-fulfilling loop. And it used to be that Western civilization was very much focused around the family. It was very, and you think back to when we were young, the family.
Everything was with the family, family, community,
You would have, in every restaurant, there'd be like a kid's play park or whatever, a play area and stuff like this. Whereas if you go into McDonald's now, it's just bare seats in a very sterile.
That was brilliant.
In a very sterile room, and it's sorry, who are you serving? And the answer is the ideology of liberalism has reduced us to the atomic individual worker who often is not married, doesn't have a girlfriend, is on his own, lives in a shared apartment maybe, or one-bedroom apartment, and then goes home and is on his own, is just on his computer, drinking beer, watching porn, smoking weed. And then he gets up the next day and goes and does his daily work for a job that he isn't particularly invested in, doesn't really own anything of his own, and now needs to take antidepressants. And
it's very Brave New World, right? Isn't it? Soma? Don't they take? It
very much is.
Yeah.
And so, but if you look at what the ideology of liberalism has done to our civilization, it's made it so that McDonald's is like, I don't need to play parks. I'm here to serve that guy on his lunch break or something. So I want him in, served, and out as quickly as possible. Right. I don't want him to come in with his family and sit down.
Right.
That's not going to happen. It's a different world. Right. The ideology has changed the world.
We're not trying to build a community here, right?
Exactly. And so we really have to be self-conscious about this and say, is this the world we want? Right. Because is the nature and the part of ideology is what we see around us influences what we do. Right. So if you're a young woman and you never see anything that's pro-family, why would you be like, I want a family?
Exactly.
Even if you've got the biological instinct to have a family. But I'm just going to have to get a job. Because how would I raise a family like this? There's nothing around me to set up for me to have a family.
There was a fascinating article when Meghan Markle stole Harry. There was a fascinating article on cable.
You're welcome.
One of the
prince.
One of the jokes was after Trump won, everyone started saying he's going to deport Harry to where, and nobody will take him, right? But there was a fascinating article, and if I recall, the title was something like, Queen Elizabeth meet liberalism, and this I forget his name. I think he's an Anglican priest. He was making the conservative Anglican priest. I have to qualify that. He was making the argument that the family was the single institution that really taught us fundamentally moral obligation, because in the family we learn from the moment we are cognizant that we are morally obligated to people, places, histories, cultures that we didn't choose for ourselves, but that chose us.
Yes.
And therefore created a sense of obligation and a sense of gratitude for what I've received. But liberalism redefines the human person as a sovereign individual that has no moral obligations apart from that which he or she chooses for themselves, i.e. Meghan Markle.
Yes.
And therefore, it gets even worse. Not only do they feel no loyalty to Harry and his lineage and his responsibilities, but if anything, those obligations are repressive. Exactly. And so these emancipatory sentiments say it's actually morally right to break it.
Yes. And this we see everywhere. Like in the very notion of like social services will at some point, I think in the future, become to realized as demented.
Yeah.
Sorry, the government can come and take your children away if
Yeah.
it feels
Yeah.
that you aren't doing X, Y, or Z. I mean, if you're not prepared to say transition your child, the government will take your child away because that is apparently the fundamental right of the child. Are you mad?
Right.
Like, this is barbaric.
Yeah.
It is barbaric.
It is barbaric.
Absolutely barbaric.
Yeah.
But this is a natural consequence of liberal ideology, which has now interpolated every individual human, at least after they're born,
Right.
with a certain set of fundamental rights.
But even there, didn't you, in England, I forget what is it, Charlie Gard.
Who's that, sorry?
That was, I think, a 2-3-year-old child or something that had a disease.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the state stepped in
Yeah.
and forced him to be euthanized.
Yes.
So abortion is sold to us by this is your right to make your choice, but then eventually the very institution that gave you that right will step in, intervene,
Yes.
and say, no, now we're going to make
Because
the choice.
they wouldn't let the parents take.
Exactly. They were
Yeah.
going to take him to the United States or to Rome or
Wherever,
something in the
you know.
Vatican. Yeah.
And the state told them that no, we're the ones who
We're the
own your
ones who
child.
make the determination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you realize what kind of world we've arrived into, where actually you don't really have rights in the natural sense. Because
Right.
Americans and English liberals and traditional people think natural rights,
Right.
part of natural
Right.
law.
Right.
It's intrinsic to my body. It's something that's directly a part of me, and therefore it's mine. They think of any relationship is possessive, right? It's like my children belong to me, but I also belong to my children,
Right, right,
I'm not a free man. I'm not a sole
Right.
trader. I'm not a lone agent. Right?
right.
No, my children have got a really strong claim over me
Right.
under all circumstances, right? But I have got just as strong a claim over them because I'm their father. It's
Right.
deeply possessive. And the state has come in with this liberal ideology and said, no, you don't.
Right.
Actually. And that's a scary thing.
It is.
You think, well, hang on a second. Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You're just a random bureaucrat who doesn't love my children. You
Right.
don't care about the best needs of my children, and yet you've decided you've got the authority to sever that relationship. I don't think you do.